G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys NBA podcast. My name is Mitchell Casey and you can find me at Ball Boys NBA on Twitter. And as always, I'm joined with my good mate, Callum Mack. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Mitch. I'm doing well. As you know, we came off a big W yesterday. I think the fans don't know we are ballers. We do play.
Yeah, we do
We're
play,
at the top of our league. We got another W. So
It's
happy days.
highly competitive stuff, super competitive. I mean, maybe we'll do a mock draft and you'll see our names come up soon in one of these lists.
Oh, we should, man. Come on.
But no, it was a big W. So yeah, shout out to the alley oopsies. You listen to the podcast there. Shout out to you boys. But we're talking a little bit higher level of basketball here today. We're talking the NBA draft. We are 1 week, and by the time this podcast comes out, 1 day away from the draft coming in. I've already got my time off work, Callum. I'm ready. I'll get my popcorn out. I'll be watching along live. Always love watching the draft. But today we're talking about two opposite ends of the spectrums. We're talking about our my guys and also potential, I'll say potential because we don't know, but potential busts or players that we think are probably going too high based on the popular mocks and big boards out there, in our opinion. So we won't mess around. We'll get straight into it. We're starting with our my guys, the players that we believe in, the players that we want to attach our names to. And if we look back in 5 years and maybe we got them right or maybe we were way off, we'll see. We'll let the tape show the record. I'll throw it up to you, Cal. Who's your first my guy?
I'll just say one rule I did when I was looking into this. I kind of obviously thought Cade, Jalen, and Mobley were kind of, off the table, essentially.
Yeah, I think they're everyone's guys.
Yeah, exactly. They're everyone's guys. So I was looking outside of that spectrum. And so my first my guy, who I'm really excited about, is Scottie Barnes. I love Scottie Barnes. I love what he brings to the table, his tenacity, his enthusiasm. His NBA size, 6'9", big frame, 225, can play the small forward, power forward. I think he fits the mold of kind of like a Ben Simmons-like player, except the fact that he's not going to be scared in the fourth quarter. Maybe we'll take more shots in the fourth quarter. Is Scottie Barnes a better player than Ben Simmons right now in the fourth quarter? These are questions we can ask ourselves right now.
Well, let's just hold the brakes a little bit there, I think. But yes, the Ben Simmons comparison is somewhat believable. I don't know if he's as much of a point guard as Ben Simmons. Like, Ben Simmons is a point guard. Like, he is a player that runs the point. And so do you see him coming in and playing point guard in the NBA, or is he more of a point forward, in your opinion?
He's definitely a point forward. I'd like to see him next to another pretty strong, like, combo guard or point guard.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure where he is off ball, though. That's one thing in this game. He will have to definitely maybe get some kind of, 3-point game or something just off ball. He could set screens because he's pretty big and kind of run to the rim because he's athletic as well. But in this day's NBA, I can definitely see him, there's so many different roles for him. He can be a perimeter defender. He's guarded point guards in the college. And then I can see him even being a small ball big as well. So definitely a lot of versatility.
Yeah, and that's his biggest plus. Like, a player, like, we hear this phrase get thrown around a lot, but he can legitimately guard 1 through 5, and there's not actually many players that can really do that. I can think of maybe your Draymond Greens, maybe your Bam Adebayos, and then maybe your Ben Simmons. Scottie Barnes is probably on that short list as well. So those players are players that can guard your guards all the way up the full court, play small ball center. Get your rebounds, push the pace. So I like him from that point of view. Where is he on your big board? Like, if you were to rank him on your big board, I know in our latest mock, you did take him at pick 6 for the Oklahoma City Thunder. If
Correct.
You had pick 5, would you have taken him there?
I would have. I have him ranked 5th on my big board. I think he's the 5th best prospect. And I think I'd be very persuaded if I was the Magic to take him.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about the fit with him and, say, like Isaac or someone like that? Like, are you put off by the fit there in that position?
I mean, they have a lot of stabs at middle here. They've got the 8th pick as well. Yes, I'm not too sure that will work, but on the defensive end, it could. So, and obviously, to be honest, Magic need to get the best prospect that they can get their hands on.
I mean, it'd be a crazy, scary defensive lineup. You think about those two players on the wings. Maybe you can have like a small ball lineup with those as your 4-5 interchanging. They're both, over 7 foot long wingspans. So I mean, that would be crazy scary on the defensive end. What are your thoughts about his like offensive potential? Like, do you think he ever gets like a reliable jump shot? Like, does he need a reliable jump shot to be effective in the NBA? Like, where do you think that potential is?
I think that definitely is the untapped potential he needs to get to the next level. Right now, I think it'd be a really good serviceable role player with that bit of if he does work on some kind of mid range or whatever it is, he could definitely become an all-star caliber player. Because I think the athleticism's there, the motor is there, and sometimes, I mean, this guy's only 20 years old. It can take him, even if it takes him a few years until he's 25, 26, to really become a reliable scorer, to even just put up, say, in the high teens. I'd be pretty happy if you can get into 20 points a game. Then that, for him, I think would be probably the best case scenario.
Yeah. I personally, I don't see him ever getting to that point, but I don't think he needs to. I think if he gets like, like peak Draymond in terms of offense, I think that's a win for him. And if he can get anywhere close to Draymond's impact on defense, then that's obviously an all-star level player. That's an all defensive level player. So I think that is his ceiling. He's probably more the comparison that I would have. I know some people throw around the Kyle Anderson comparison. I think he's way more athletic than Kyle Anderson. You saw some of the testing combine results at the draft combine. He was right up there with I think he had the fastest shuttle run time. Had one of the fastest three-quarter court sprints. Like, he was competing very well with the top guards in the combine there. So it shows that he's got a lot of athleticism, a lot of quickness, and at that size, it's crazy. And another big thing that I like, and I reckon this is going to be a theme with some of my guys here, big hands. I think big hands is an underrated fact in the NBA. He's got the second largest hands in the NBA draft combine, second only to Jalen Johnson. So when you can palm that ball, you can throw those fakes, you can get those rebounds and deflect shots. I think hand size is one of those underrated measurements that I like to look up. And
it definitely is. Like, you got Kawhi Leonard is the claw for a reason, right? So 100%. It 100% helps.
Yeah, Giannis has got those big paws. So, no, I do like him. Scottie Barnes on my big board. He is in that tier 3, so behind, your Suggs, Greens, and Mobleys, but he is ranked 6th for me. So, if he wasn't your guy, he's probably my guy as well. But I think he's probably around there. I'd say more like that 6, 7, 8 in most positions. So, you've got him a bit higher there. So, I think I do believe in Scottie Barnes. And if I'm the Thunder at pick 6, he doesn't get past me at that point.
I do think he probably is more the consensus number 5 now, because I've seen some people go off Kuminga, who was kind of at lock for 5 if you went back a month or two ago. Yep. But I've definitely seen Scottie Barnes sliding up to that 5th spot on a lot of draft boards.
Much more than a few weeks ago, definitely, 100%. Let's move on to my guy. And for those of you who watched the mock draft, our first mock, you would probably have a guess on who this guy is. And it is Moses Moody. I am a big fan of him in terms of talent point of view. I'm a big fan of him in terms of how he fits into the NBA, in terms of like the prototypical 3-and-D wing. But I think he's got more upside than that. I think one of the big knocks that I see a lot of him is like that there's low upside with him. And I disagree. I think the fact that he's been able to get to the free throw line as heavy as he does, he's got an insane sort of free throw rate. He's got a smooth looking jump shot. He's sneaky athletic. I know one of the knocks again is his athleticism. He's not the greatest athlete, but he's long. Again, huge hands. He's got some of the biggest hands in the draft. And at 6'6" with a 7-foot long wingspan, I think that those kind of players are just extremely versatile. So if I'm the Magic at 5, I just think he's the one of the highest talented players on the board and also the best fit. So he would be my pick if I'm the Orlando Magic. I know you might not be as high on Moody as me. What are your thoughts on Moody in terms of a talent point of view?
Moody, I do like. I think there's definitely 2 aspects to his game that are very NBA ready in terms of 3-point shooting. His shot looks awesome. It goes down pretty often. He shot 36% from the field. Yep. So, that's reasonable. You'd like to think he improves on it.
Good attempts too. Good attempts.
On good attempts. Yeah, 5 attempts a game. So that's pretty solid. And he's only 19. So you'd think if anything, that's only going to get better. And I
believe he's also only just turned 19 as well. I think he's a very young 19. So just keep that in mind.
That's correct. 19.1, according to the maths I have in front of me.
There you go.
The other thing, the free throws, he's taken about 6 a game. So those two aspects, obviously, NBA loves that. He's shooting 80% from the line as well. So that's not an issue. So with the free throws and the 3-point shooting, he's looking to shape out to be a pretty good prospect. I'm not completely sold to be the number 5th pick. If I look at my big board, I had him 8th on my big board. I haven't updated that in a while, so maybe I could shift him around, but I still think that he probably fits there on my list.
Yeah.
So you are a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think that's more the consensus. He's probably more that like 8 to 10 range in what I've seen mostly, some having outside the lottery altogether. But I just think that, to me, I see a floor of like a Mikal Bridges and a ceiling of a Chris Middleton. And that's like a narrower kind of range for me, but it's super safe and it's just valuable either way. Because if he's able to become, I don't think he's ever going to be a primary scorer on a championship team. I don't see that, but I think he can be a number 2 guy. Like I said, so that Chris Middleton kind of role where he's playing good defense. He can be a shot creator. Probably isn't the primary playmaker. He needs to be playing alongside other guards that can create for others. He's not going to be the person creating other shots, low assist totals. But outside of that, he's got a pretty complete game to me. So big fan. And just his jump shot looks so smooth. I mean, think about like just the eye test for me. He just passes and ticks all the boxes there. So, and how can you love that name, Moses Moody? Just sounds like rolls off the tongue. It sounds like an NBA star to me. I don't know, but yeah, Moses Moody. I'm a big fan of him. Where would you want to draft him if you're a team? Would you as the Warriors? Would you think that he gets past you there? Because I think he'd be a perfect fit for the Warriors if he makes it there.
I think the Warriors really, at this point, they need some other guy that can get a bucket outside of Steph Curry. And that was a huge issue. Obviously, they had Klay Thompson getting back. I think they will somewhat prioritize someone who can actually put the ball in the bucket. And I
reckon Moody's your man then. He can do that.
That's exactly right. Moses Moody does. I can see him fitting the part. The thing is, he is pretty young and still a little bit raw. And the thing is that Golden State team do love to move the ball. So I'm not too sure the IQ is quite there for such a intelligent team, but I love the way he attacks and he can hit the 3. So I wouldn't be completely surprised if they picked him.
Yeah,
he does tick the boxes they're after.
If it's me, I personally don't see him going past 7. If I know I'm high on him, but I just feel like he's the perfect player for, if not the Orlando Magic, for the Warriors, because as we get into it, there's a few other players that are being projected to go at that range that we, and I probably more so myself, are not sold on. So, but we'll get to go those guys a bit later. Who is your next my guy, Callum?
All right, my next my guy. We touched on him. I had a bit of a rant in our full draft pod, but Alperen Sengun. I love this kid, the Turkish guy. I'm a big fan. I'll just say his stats again. It'll blow you away. Get ready for it. 19 points. 9.5 rebounds, pretty much 20 and 10. Let's say he's put up 20 and 10. 1.3 steals, 1.7 blocks as well on 2.5 assists. He's pretty much putting up Vucevic numbers, but more defensive as well. He's putting up Jokic kind of numbers without a few of the dimes. And his field goal, guess what his field goal is? Take it, just hazard a guess.
I don't know. Is it 60% or 55%?
64.6%.
Yeah, shit. Yeah,
the man's shooting like 65%. He is efficient. His threes, he doesn't really take it. Doesn't take threes. Not part of his game. No. That's okay. He goes to the free throw line 6 times a game and hits 80% of them. He does everything but hit the 3, which obviously in this NBA may have some maybe a bit of an issue. He also isn't known for his perimeter defense, so he could be hunted on that end. But I still think the positives outweigh the negatives. I think he definitely has a lot of potential because he's a hustler on defense as well. Even though his athleticism isn't there, he does hustle, and I think he can be in a team that plays good team defense. So I'd love for a team like maybe the Spurs, some team that operates with good team defense to pick him up and just kind of carry that and let him carry the offensive load.
Yeah, super young, 18 years old. So one of the younger prospects in the draft, which is very, very obviously encouraging. One thing that worries, I've got three actually main things that worry me. And I like him. I think he's a lottery pick. I think he should be going in the top 14 picks. But there's a few things that worry about me. Number one is his style of play. He's a back to the basket player, and I just don't know how far a team can go when you've got one of those centers as your one of your top players. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's someone that you can have come off the bench and play minutes in the low 20s or high teens and have a bit of a spark plug and score on bench players. But if he's your starting center, I'm not sure how far you can go in the NBA just with that type from a philosophy point of view. You think of your players, Vucevic, he's a bit more of a face-up, but your Nurkic's, your Cantors back in the day.
To some degree.
Sabonis, yeah, but even he's a power forward. So I'm not sure how comparable that is to winning. The second thing is his size. He's pretty small for a center. And if I combine that with my third issue, his shooting, is he able to play power forward and provide that spacing from the power forward position? I don't know. I think he has to develop that 3-point shot, or he has to be able to play bigger than his size and guard those bigger centers like your Embiids or your Jokic's or, your Rudy Gobert's, which I'm not sure he's able to do because he's not the longest athlete in the world, and he's also lacking a little bit of height. So what are your thoughts on some of those issues there?
I think it'll be good to see him to get some kind of 3-point shot. But that being said, I did compare him to Pau Gasol. I think he's a bit of a Pau Gasol. And when he's in the paint, he's got great footwork. He's aggressive. He can get a bucket. And sometimes you need the two outside of the three. And today's NBA, you got a lot of threes, you got a lot of centers that can hit the three. Yeah. I think if he fits a certain team, he can definitely be very effective.
Yeah, so to say he's on a team where the center is a floor spacer, like the Milwaukee Bucks with a Brook Lopez or a Miles Turner or something like that. That would be the best case scenario, I think. So I agree with you there. The other thing that I really like about his game is his passing ability. He's shown lots of flashes of, high level court vision, behind the back passes from the post, being able to pass out of double teams and things like that. So very, very good signs from that point of view. I think it's actually probably one of his highest skills or biggest strengths as a player currently as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, he's flashy. He likes to make it look good.
Do you know what the skill level is like in the Turkish league? I'm not as familiar. I think I've heard decent things. I know it's not to the standard of the Euro leagues where Doncic came from, but do you know much about it?
It's a good league. I'd say it's above LaMelo went to the NBL.
Yeah, I think it's above our league.
It'd be above the NBL for sure.
Yeah,
and you got someone like that Aussie in the draft. Yeah, Giddy.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I think
this man won the MVP of the Turkish league. MVP, baby.
MVP at 18 years old. So I find him really tough. Again, I'll ask you, where do you have him on your big board? Where is he sitting at the moment?
So I had him at 9.
Yeah, okay, inside the top 10.
I think he's a top 10 prospect. I think he is.
If you're Sacramento and you're on the clock and say your first 8 are gone, you're picking him at pick 9 for Sacramento?
I think you have to get the best talent. I'd even, I'm looking at my list, I might even push him up. I could push him up to the 8th spot. I might even, I'm happy with him at 9. And I think if Sacramento have him there, you should take him. You have to.
Moody or Sengun? Who are you taking?
I'm looking at my list, and that's why I said I could push him up. I have Moody 8 and Sengun 9.
Yeah, okay.
And I think Moody is a higher floor to Sengun, obviously, but I honestly think the ceiling is better for Sengun.
Okay.
It depends what you want to go for there.
Yeah, I'm going to lean on the wing most cases in that situation and fade the center, just as a philosophy and the current NBA. But I'm very intrigued by his ceiling and I do like him as a prospect. So I'll give you a tick on Alperen there. All right, moving on to my next guy, my guy, Jaden Springer. Someone who I guess I'm really high on him compared to a lot of the other consensus mocks and big boards out there. He is in my next tier down from Moses Moody and Scottie Barnes and towards the back end of that tier. But I've seen this guy ranked in the 20s a lot of the time, maybe the high teens at best. But I really like the floor of Jaden Springer. Maybe a little bit less sold on upside and potential. Maybe not as high a ceiling kind of a player. But I really rate his defense and what he can contribute straight away. He's extremely young. And if I compare him to someone who we might talk about later, someone like a Davion Mitchell, who's been, put as high as 7 in mock drafts and things like that, I would much rather 10 times out of 10 take Jaden Springer over Davion Mitchell because he's got the youth on his side. I trust his jump shot a little bit more. He's bigger, stronger, and probably a bit more physical, able to get to the rim a bit better. So another one, again, for his size, decent, big hands. So it's a bit of a theme for me. So I do like Jaden Springer. What are your thoughts on Springer from Tennessee?
I'd firstly push back a little bit on the Davion Mitchell comments, but we'll get into that later.
Okay.
But look, we know you love a shooting guard with big hands. This apparently is what Mitch is really into.
Yeah, this is my criteria. You got big hands, you're a shooting guard, you're in my guys.
He's I think the best thing going for him is probably his youth. He showed some signs, but he's not even 19 yet. He's an 18-year-old kid.
He's 18, yeah.
And the other big sign is he shot the ball 43% from 3, given that was only about 2 attempts a game. So it's not a huge sample size, but it looks like he can hit the 3. He put up in college 12.5, about 3 and 3 with just over a steal a game. So there's definitely probably some improvement there. His turnovers are a little bit high, had 2.5 in the minutes he played. So, but that's what you get with a younger kid. I think if you were picking him, it would be a team that obviously can wait. That wouldn't be a win now. I wouldn't expect at all someone like Golden State to get him. Or no, I think he'll be in the 20s anyway. I think he will probably fall, or maybe the high teens.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect any team that's win now. I think it'd be someone that can kind of camp on him.
Yeah.
I don't see him really being too crazy in the NBA for the next couple of years at least.
I think I would compare him to someone like, in my view personally, I would compare him to someone like a Tyrese Halliburton in my view, in terms of the fact that I think he's not necessarily someone who's best suited to be like a primary ball handler. I think he is a bit more of that combo guard. My perfect comparison would be like a Marcus Smart, who is a player that I really like and really rate, who a couple of years ago I had a 6th man of the year. Who was robbed, by the way. But yeah, someone who doesn't need to have the pressure of creating for others and being the primary ball maker, but can move the ball really well, can play really good defense on either 1s and 2s. So if you can go to a situation where there is another ball creator, so say a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, or they've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander there, he can play next to him and they can sort of cross guard very, very nicely. Even a team, say, like the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young's your guy who's dominating the ball. He's another guy who can play good defense. Take a bit of that bench guard, say Trae Young goes to the bench, he can take the point guard duties for a little while. I like that kind of a fit. Seeing how he's probably going to go later in the draft, I just think that there's a lot of teams there that he would fit very nicely on. So I really like his floor. Again, probably not going to be the superstar in this draft, but I really like, where he can turn out based on his draft position. And I think when you get past this draft, I think, after your players like your Scottie Barnes, maybe, you take there's a few swings like your Alperen Senguns and maybe your Josh Giddey's and things like that. I don't really see too many stars outside of that. So, outside of your sort of top 8 or 9, that's what you're after really, is a reliable, bankable player who is going to contribute to winning basketball. And I think that Jaden Springer can be that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair guess, actually. I think there's a lot of good role players in this draft.
Lots of good role players, yeah.
And it's obviously, it is pretty top heavy with three really, I guess 3 to 4 kind of studs at the top. But given his youth, given what he did show, which is pretty promising, you'd like to think that he potentially could have an all-star in him, would be what you're shooting for.
We're not going to touch on this player as well, but if you compare him to his teammate in Keon Johnson, I know Keon Johnson's got the athleticism and he's, he broke the record for max vertical jump, but I would much rather take Jaden Springer over Keon because I just believe in his shooting a lot more. I believe in his playmaking a little bit more than Keon. And I just think he's got a little bit more youth on his side. So for me, I think it's an easy pick for Springer over Johnson personally. I know that might be a controversial thing
yeah.
But I'm quite comfortable in putting my name on that one. All right, let's go to our last. We've got one more my guy each. Who's your last my guy there, Cal?
All right, my last one. Ayo Desunmu.
Hey.
Let's go. Ayo Desunmu. I like him. I think he's had a few years in college. He's 21, so a little bit older on the prospect spectrum, which is maybe one reason why he did fall a bit. But I really like his game. I watch him. He's crafty. He can do a lot of things. Got a bit of a floater. He lives in the mid range, which to some degree is a bit of a knock because he hasn't been shooting a whole lot of threes.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at his stats now, his threes have actually gone down over the years at college.
Yes.
But that being said, his points have been going up because the man's a bucket. So it depends what angle you look at it. He was an All-American. He put up 26 and 5. He's long as well. Look, you love a man with long hands.
Yes.
I love a man with a big wingspan.
He does have a big wingspan.
He's got a big wingspan. I think it was close to 7-foot wingspan. It might have been 6'10" or something. He measured in at 6'5". So he's already got the body. He's pretty strong. He reminds me a little bit, and this is maybe a reason why I'm such a big fan of him, but he reminds me a little bit of Jimmy Butler in the mid-range game. And I love me some Jimmy.
I know you love me some Jimmy. Is it the hair? Is that what it is?
Maybe it's the hair. I don't know what it is, but I'm watching him like I can see a little bit of Jimmy in him.
Yeah.
And we know Jimmy was 30th pick in his draft.
I can see that a little bit, I guess, just in terms of play style.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the athlete that Jimmy Butler is, in terms of just, speed and strength and things like that. But I can see that a little bit, and definitely not the playmaking that Jimmy Butler possesses. I think.
Look, the man averaged 5 assists in college. Just like
but
he was running pick and rolls. He was running it. He was a combo guard.
His usage rate was crazy high. He's playing really high minutes. The offense really ran through him. So you compare. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes those stats can be misleading. So I'm not quite ready to buy into the playmaking. I'll buy into the bucket getting. He's obviously a guy who can score. He's a crafty playmaker, crafty scorer. I'm gonna push back a little bit on this guy. I'm not as high on him. I don't even know if I'm not sure if he's in my first round, to be honest.
Oh, haters gonna hate, Mitch. That's right. I hope he goes 30th and follows in the footsteps of Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I want everyone to prove me wrong if I don't like them, but he's in the mix. He's in that sort of mold at the back end, like 25 to 35, which I'm obviously less confident in with a lot of those guys. So I could very well be wrong, but I don't know what he does that translates to the NBA in terms of the fact that when he's drafted, he's not going to be the number one guy. And I'm not sure how he's going to go when he has to take a lesser role. I think that he almost needs that offense to flow through him to get the best out of him. So that would be my concern, I mean, unless he's going to like a Houston Rockets or something like that, where maybe he can have a bigger role from the get-go. I think that would be his best way to get the most out of his career. Would you agree with that? Or how do you see him going? Say he does go to a contending team at the back end of the first round.
I do agree to some degree. Like, I still think there's a few things he needs to work on. Like, he doesn't really shoot threes. That's something in the NBA as a point guard or a shooting guard. You need to definitely need to be pretty reliable. And at this point, I'd like to see him come off the bench and just do that bench role for a couple of years and see where it takes him. Yeah, I think that would be the best way for him to start. Look, he shot 39% from three, low attempts, low volume. It's been a bit all over the place in his 3 years in college. That's the other thing. He's an older player as well. So 21 years old. I guess I've been known to be a bit ageist in the past, and I like my young players, but I don't know. I think there's a few more question marks that I've got for him, and I'm not going to call him a bust by any means. I think he's probably ranked where I think he probably should be, in my opinion. But he's got a fun name, Ayo. That's half the fun.
Yeah, it is half the fun. Him and Moody. All right, my last, my guy, who will probably lead into our next section, but I'll have a chat about him first, and it is Kai Jones. I really like Kai Jones. I've seen him ranked all over the place in mocks and on big boards. I've seen some people rank him as high as I've got him, and I've seen some people rank him in the 20s, back end low towards like pick 30 almost. But He is someone who is 6'11", long wingspan, has the him and JT Thor, although he's got half an inch, have the highest standing reach in this draft. So long wingspans combined with 6'11" and a half. Again, another player, big hands, 9.5 inches hand width. So he's got the physical tools, and this man is an athlete. He's a former track star, so ran track, just incredibly fast. Reminds me, when he runs, literally reminds me of like a Giannis or a Bam Adebayo, or just one of those athletes that you just look, and when they run, you just know that they're, you know, they've just got something else, something extra. Bouncy, springy, is new to basketball, has only been playing for maybe 4 or 5 years. The stats don't jump out at you when you look at the stats there. Played lower minutes on the team. I think he almost came off the bench as well. But someone who I think that if you're a team like Charlotte, maybe a team like Sacramento, where you might need a bigger guy there, even New Orleans, maybe to a lesser degree, you take a punt and you go on the upside, because I think that if he hits, he can be a special modern day big man, and I think that that's a rare thing to find these days. What are your thoughts on Kai Jones? I know
Kai Jones.
Before we get into like the depths of your thoughts, just give me a brief overview.
I can see the positives. He runs like an athlete, so and that does help. A good example of that for someone who actually completely dropped in his draft was DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah.
You look back at him and you look the way he ran as a 7-footer, and it was a bit weird that he fell to I think he was in the 20s, or it might have even been a second rounder. He really did fall. Yeah. An early second rounder. So sometimes when a big man is that mobile, it is good to spin the dice on him. And I think that is mostly his upside. I think that's why people want him. He has shown some talent to hit the three as well. Didn't shoot many, but shot 38%. But yeah, very small sample size. The defensive end, you know, almost a steal, almost a block game in limited time is also pretty promising. So there is some upside there. To spin it back on you, the age you could use against you, being he's close to 20 and a half. So
he is a little bit older than the other guys I've got on this list, which goes against my philosophy. I'm going to go back on the fact that he has only been playing basketball for a few years since he turned away from track. So I'm going to give him a little bit of benefit of doubt from that point of view, and say that, you know, yes, he's 20 years old, but he's probably, in terms of basketball age, closer to like an 18-year-old from my point of view there. But that has been known to be wrong before. There have been a few other players that have had the same kind of comparison and you know, rose-colored glasses from that point of view. I'm a believer in his shot. I think the shot can get there. It doesn't have to be something that he is, you know, he doesn't have to be Steph Curry, but I think he will have the ability within a few years to be a proper floor spacer. So I do see a bit of an ability to do that at the NBA level. Well, so that's my guy, and that's all my guys. Let us know who you like. Let us know who you think is getting drafted too low, or who's too low in a lot of these mocks and all the big boards, and let us know who you want your name attached to in the comments.